Hello and welcome to our new season, our new year at NeuroGraphic Art and Life Studio. I am Alina Smolyansky, a certified instructor of NeuroGraphica. I'm also an artist and I have other background like in the engineering, architecture, and writing, communication. So that's why when you see that I'm very precise with numbers and good with the sacred geometry, it's because I have an architectural background. And I will, in this drawing, I will introduce also, I know that the majority here, they know about the neurographic line, the principle of rounding and the figures, but I will remind once again, because maybe many who will watch this video, that will be the first introduction to NeuroGraphica. And I will switch my camera to the drawing. Okay, so you can see, and I see questions already about what tools we use. Luckily, NeuroGraphica is an affordable technique. You know, being a professional instructor, I didn't use it. I didn't buy expensive tools. Explain the reason, because the quality and the effect of your drawing doesn't depend on the tools you use. Something that works well. So the pen, these are just very simple. The inexpensive, I think it's Pelican, a very affordable, not professional grade, they're more like a student grade markers, felt tip markers. They're good at the beginning. My favorite one that I use is more like permanent, heavily pigmographic one, but it's a little bit thin. Actually, this 1 millimeter, which is good. I like it because it produces very nice line. Oh, something like this, like markers like this for drawing the lines, and this is more art marker. I wasn't very happy with them. They quite they didn't last long, and in effect, so I stay with the simple markers, and I completed. I'm sure I completed my instructor NeuroGraphica training using tools like simple markers, inexpensive drawing paper, and some fine liners. Fine liners, it's for more advanced techniques. Okay? And also pencils. Sometimes I use watercolor pencils, and sometimes these are just pencils I use for neurographic drawing. Again, from a inexpensive brand. The difference only when if you want to create drawings that last longer and use it as art, then a quality of your materials matter, but it doesn't affect the effect of your drawing that you have in psychological sense. It's only archival qualities that matters what tools you use. If you produce art, then you can go with professional quality. If you use it for personal development, not as art, inexpensive materials will work. You remember the brand? No, that's some of them are. Is it from Germany? I don't know the brand. So this one was Pelican. The other one I also used Crayola, but what I remember. And sometimes they have brand like no brand name. So with this, so and why we use pencils, preferably because the pencil produces a line. NeuroGraphica is firstly about the line, and when we connect certain area, when we color, we do this movement, and the lines that we drew before becomes visually connected. Like for example, like this. If we have two neurographic lines. Now, by creating this line, by going back and forth, we visually connect those areas, those lines, by going back and forth. Using pastel, it's also possible to use because you a similar movement, you need to color, but with color, when you use a brush, you just you color it. Yeah, there is a difference, but I love art materials myself, but I found that it's not important for NeuroGraphica. Yet I have to mention also paper. In my experience, good paper matters more than markers. So good paper produce better results. So I would rather go with a more expensive paper than markers. But also I didn't create NeuroGraphic as art, as archival quality, as artwork. Not yet. Okay, so just a reminder about those who are beginning with the NeuroGraphic line. And that's important even for people who just joined our group. You can call it NeuroGraphic line, or you can call it Neuroline. And also, as the name of its founder, the founder of the method, Piskarev's line, and it was done in, but I do not use Piskarev's line. I use like NeuroGraphic line or Neuroline. So what is this line and why it's so special? You know, the kind NeuroGraphic Art that's all available on YouTube, free YouTube videos. I mean, not by certified NeuroGraphica instructor, but by other instructors. They suggest drawing the lines like something like very intuitive, simple line, like, oh, just draw a line. This is not a NeuroGraphic line because you create your intuition, and eventually, if you create your intuition, while it's good for relaxation, but at the same time, if we're missing certain element that's specific for NeuroGraphic line, we recreate stereotypical of thinking because the mind is and the brain built in such a way so not to use waste energy. So it will try to force you to recreate the pattern because it's easier and not to waste your energy. And energy and the brain is the most, it requires most energy for more than any other organ. So it's quite conservative by nature, and it will not do anything unnecessary. So that's why training the brain and the mind and associated, it's more difficult than any other body part, more difficult than training the body. So what is the NeuroGraphic line? It's the line that doesn't repeat itself. So it doesn't have any pattern. In this way, it becomes unpredictable. So this area, this not equal this one, not this will equal. They're all different. Of course, if you zoom in, there's areas where it will look the same, look like the straight line. But to our visual understanding, it's important to our eyesight. Visually, it's not repetitive. It enables us to overcome those stereotypes. And that's the most important. If we want to form a new habit, to create something new in our life, we need to break stereotypes. While patterns like this it's very good because this rhythmic line will calm the mind. So if you practice Zentangle and you use those patterns, that's why it's so calming and so easy and so pleasant to do, because it calms the mind by repeating. It's like rhythmic repetition. So how will we draw the neurographic line? At the very beginning, there's some more to that, but at the beginning, just try watch like that mindfulness practice. Observe your hand. And make sure that you do not repeat the movement, the line. You can even practice it using your non-dominant hand. That's also good. So if you need to draw the line, like for example, we have a sketch, and we will have maybe a sketch. We have a line. For example, a straight line. So how can we convert it into the neurographic line? We have a direction. We make the movement. We follow this course of the line, direction, but we vary. We move my hand. In a way, it's like repeating nature. But we're not repeating because we're trying to overcome, and we're pushing ourselves not to repeat. You may feel resistance at the very beginning to drawing this line, even to the point of getting sick, because if the hand will, the previous habit, old habits will encourage you to repeat the line. It's easier, it's predictable. No, try resist and do not repeat the pattern. There is something, those who studied NeuroGraphica know there is one more rule about how to draw the line, but at the very beginning, if you don't know anything, that's the good thing to know and practice. The line doesn't repeat itself. You mean that there are no so this is straight line, and you can convert any line into neurographic line by adding a natural curves, not natural, but the one that you produce. So that's why neurographic drawing do not look alike, because everyone is like handwriting. You will have your own specific individual line. So now what for the second one? So this is the line, a neural line, neurographic line. A second one is the principle of rounding. Supposedly we have a line, like two lines cross and create an angle. So there are two meanings why we create rounding. We just soften these edges or corners, and you see this specific element. It's called rounding in NeuroGraphic Art. So one of the reasons why we do it, when we see the lines, like for example, two lines, we are drawing our three-dimensional world or five-dimensional world in two-dimensional world on this paper. So when lines appear like that, we do not know whether they're cross or not, whether they connect or not. They may be in different planes. For example, like here. So like we look like this, or maybe they connect. No, they're like this. And to make this connection, to give our mind the signal that these idea is connected, we create this surrounding. So it's for the purpose of connection. It's something that creates neurons. It's like connecting neurons, brain cells. So, and always your ability to think, to create, to find a new position, new ways of something. It's just being able to connect more neurons. It's not only the quantity of brain cells, but also important how they're connected. I can't go too much into explaining. That's a little bit more to that. So that's mostly in my courses if somebody is interested. I just do not have possibilities to explain everything. And also why it's important when we have, for example, two lines cross and they form angles that look a little bit not friendly, just because the angle, sharpness, perceived sharpness, and we're concerned about seeing anything sharp. The circle, on the other point, looks friendly. It has no sharp elements, and we associate a ground. It's something good. It's something positive. It's infinite. It's symmetrical. It's perfect. No beginning, no end. So that's one of the meaning when we saw the circle. That it's a very basic idea. The triangle, for example, is also a good figure, could be symmetrical, but it has corners that in the real world would be associated with thorns, with claws, with weapons, something that can hurt us. And when we introduce this new element rounding, we change this sharp element that resembles a triangle into a circle, and a more peaceful element, more perfect, at a circle. So that's the basic elements, but that's why we round the corners. And the third one, also element from NeuroGraphic and NeuroGraphic Art, is connecting all the elements. That lines, in general, lines in neurographic drawing represent our consciousness. So to make consciousness permeates everything, connects everything, and that's why we connect all the elements. So using the line. So the line in neurographic and neuro art is an element itself because it's meaningful, but also it serves connecting the elements, connection, establishes connections among the elements. So that's a visual characteristics of NeuroGraphic and NeuroGraphic Art and Neuro Art. So that's what the art that we will create in our group, those who create, those who are familiar. And also if you do drawing, you may also add some intention and theme. We call it theme, but intention, why you do this drawing. So you're not just drawing, it's a powerful element that requires concentration. So do not use this just for art. Art, it could be beautiful by itself, but also it could be very helpful for harmonizing your attitude, for changing habits, or whatever you decide. Depends on your theme. So that's basic thing about neuro art, and we can now equipped enough to create a drawing. So before we continue, any question about these elements, the neural line, method of rounding, and the principle of rounding and connection of all the elements? No, okay. So if no, then we can start our drawing. So the one that I've chosen today, I was thinking about what drawing to create. You may also position your page in vertical position. I'm not sure whether. So you can position either in vertical on the orientation in vertical is preferable. But if I draw in a vertical way, you will not see the top. So I will just use this one. I was thinking about what to present idea, and that's how I had this idea of a angel, Neuro Angel. You can, it's something that communicates. So by development, by the human history, angels are those entities who deliver messages. So that's about messaging, establishing connection between so-called higher planes, spiritual plane, and material world. And I represent them like a, so because it's neuro, like talking about angel, I decided to use a blue color. So and then in this my drawing, I drew two spheres representing so-called heaven and earth. It's just our only belief. In reality, there is no separation between so-called spiritual and material. It's all one. But for some reason, like our mind is built on duality, and we view it in this way. And all this, and angels are those entities that make this communication possible. Quite often, we want to hear messages. We want to clarity, but we're not able to hear. So maybe it's a lack of concentration, lack of silence in the mind. So that's why silence in the mind that we used in meditation to create this silence. And before we start drawing, you can think about what you would like to, what you would like to hear, what you would like to understand. For this, we can just make a very short breathing exercise. And breathing is the most connection between our the sort of visible and invisible, conscious and subconscious. Just a few breathing in and out. Just you may direct your attention to somewhere in the area of your chest. Maybe just above the heart, or on the area of the heart, no, not the heart itself, but behind it. It's the area where it feels calmer than anywhere else. And from that space, from that calmness, think what you would like to hear. So what you would like maybe to ask that messenger, angel. You may ask for protection, maybe as a guardian angel, or calmness, or relaxation, or what you would like to hear, what you would like to understand, the message that you're missing and can't hear it, can't be clear about it. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I'm thinking about it today. So I'm looking for guidance. You know, there's signs that I receive, but not. Sometimes I can't interpret it. So, and then I use the neurographic line that we discussed just before that to draw those lines, indicating that energy from the top, from this upper area to our like physical world. And since we're physical beings, so we associate ourselves with our body and our sensory organ. And as I'm drawing the lines, I'm focusing on the line itself. So my attention is on the line, on the tip of the marker. And these lines indicate, I'm thinking of them like streams of energy. Of course, they're coming without our participation. But I would like to focus on them. And where your focus is, so there, where your attention is, there energy flows. And at the same time, as my theme, intention for this drawing was guidance to understand. I'm sure I am giving everything what I need, but maybe I'm not smart enough to not. It's not clear for me. So let's say I had a few lines. This is more like neuro art drawing, because normally we do not do, and this and there's a NeuroGraphica. So when I feel like I had enough lines, and the crossing lines, I start looking whether I can see anything. I would like to see my messenger, my angel. Whether I can see anything in these lines, of course, visually, I can associate with the sign or the angel. Okay. So I just see what attracts my attention. So it's very individual again. So my eyes were attracted by this figure. And now I use this energy, like my own understanding, and I'll start drawing lines back from And for me, it's like idea of an angel. For some reason, he has a square head, but it doesn't matter. That's what attracts it. So I can imagine that this angel is spreading its wings. Maybe it's more like a genie that rises from bottle. I think I'm going to use, it's very symbolic. So those who know NeuroGraphica, I will use the field lines. There's lines, they energize the drawing. So I imagine that that's what my energy is coming towards me. And now I'm trying to meet it. So I'm making the step forward towards it. Well, it's a very strange figure, and I don't know why that happened. But whatever happened, it happened. And I probably will like to start around the corners. All these intersections. Do not expect to hear whatever you ask right now. That may take some time. We just send a message to the universe that we want to hear something. So you may ask whether around every corner. It's maybe not every intersection, but some main one, especially where wider lines meet. Where the wider lines cross, they definitely need to round. Otherwise, rounding can be done according to your how you're feeling. If you're feeling some discomfort, round more. Like, I mean, more intersections. So I was away and I didn't draw as much as usual, and I can feel that I lost this. Even with my artistic skills, and practice, regular practice art, I'm feeling I'm not. My hand is not as good making this rounding. So I'm a little bit lost this. That's practice. I'm sure that a couple of days of practice and will be restored. Because the idea of an angel, I will introduce some colors. You may add more lines so you can finish this drawing as much as you know about NeuroGraphica. It's up to your knowledge. It's almost the end of the class, or the time that we met, like hour and a half. I feel like drawing more lines, like me personally, and not down first, but now up. This my energy giving back. So that's why, like, a circle you receive and you give back. And how it happens, it's not like material world. The more you give, the more you receive, because when you give, there's empty space and it's filled in. I want this flow of energy is more obvious. So just you probably noticed that when I color across the lines. I just what we use in NeuroGraphica. Yeah. So in NeuroArt, if you're drawing as a NeuroArt, please, you may use different materials, painting. Yes. Probably most important when you maintain your focus, intention. Now, you do not have to think about your theme all the time, but you focus, you maintain focus on your practice. And most likely I would like to draw more lines in this, and the wings. Like I feel like drawing more lines, of course. Spreading, so-called spreading my wings. And I will, of course, add more rounding when I it's another element when if you can draw lines with a pencil. So the colors, if I certain drawings, if I do not want to lines to be as strong, like with a marker, I can just add them with a pencil. I still want to have the lines, but I don't want them to be too obvious, to distract attention from this kind of element. This main element to something else. No, like, for some reason I feel like adding a circle here. I don't know why. There's some, I added, but I used the existing lines. I want to be behind or not. Well, that's something to think for me. I definitely feel like I need a circle here. And I wonder what this square, square diamond shape appeared as the first one I paid attention. Yeah, good question. I do not understand which corners you round and which not. There are so many lines. Okay. And when we start practicing NeuroGraphica, I mean, for beginners, it's recommended to round every corner. So you will not, there's no such a thing as too much rounding. You just round. There are the tiny lines like that. You may not round, but I would probably on my drawing, I will look in like where wider lines connect, and then I round those intersections. But I may look and take a finer marker and round, if not everything, but the majority of them. And that's also very individual how much you round. It feels like, okay, if you look at the drawing, you feel like, I don't feel quiet enough. I don't feel balanced enough. They continue rounding. If you feel some kind of discomfort, definitely better to round as many corners as possible. So for me, it's a general rule. If it's a very two fine lines connect, I do not round. If they're like double line or thicker lines or wider lines, then I round. And then you may finish the drawing based on your perception, your perception of attractiveness, how you feel, how you want to finish it, how you feel. It's your personal feelings. So I will continue working, and the more I draw, the more I feel like I need to finish it to add something else. So I do not know how it will be transformed at the end. Okay, so welcome back to our classroom. I see that everyone is your head down, so you very much immersed into your drawing. So, and also if you're drawing much and you feel like your head is down, I find it's difficult. You may think about maybe like maybe an easel or something that lift your drawing so you don't have to look down all the time. So if you can have a board, you can put it on and put a few books so to straighten your back and neck. So okay, so we've finished we didn't finish the drawing, but we finished the class for today. Oh yes, it's a good question about how do we put our drawings in the group. Hashtag. You can yeah, you can put it maybe like Neuro Angel. So if you feel like drawing another one, you also welcome to draw it. And so I'll finish this one and I'll see whether I can. So it's quite often that you may start a drawing and you don't like it. I experienced that right now. So I liked at the beginning, now something changed. I will let everybody go, finish the class, and I look forward to seeing your drawings. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you back. Bye.